In this riffing on words, we'll look at the word grateful. And it's a useful, very practically built word. You have great and you have full. And this offers some insight because if you want to get a clue about the feeling of gratefulness, it suggests that you start with something great and you experience or create that abundantly. In other words, you fill the reality and thus the heart with something great. Now, great is subjective. So we're starting off with human beings. And so what's great, if we look at the hierarchy of human needs, we have survival, security, love and belonging, self-esteem, developing and discovering one's personal talents, gifts, bringing those abundantly into the world, and creating abundance for self and others with those gifts, and becoming part of something bigger. So these are human needs, and as needs from a human perspective, we're moving in the direction of something that could be called great. You'd hardly call it great if you were dying, ready to die at any moment, did not have any self-love, love for others, and were devoid of love from other people, had no self-esteem, no clue or competence with talent, no sense of abundance, a tremendous sense of scarcity, and felt completely isolated rather than part of something bigger than ourselves. Well, we would call that horrible and horror-filled rather than great-filled. So to move in the direction of great, we're looking at fulfilling human needs. We're looking at fulfilling human preferences, even more great. I have a preference for this food relative to this food. Well, for it to be great food, we're moving in the direction of preference. We're moving in the direction of joy. The spontaneous transcendence of language, of mechanized structure to have a transcendent moment. When one is deeply filled with joy, one is at one. One feels one with all that is, one with one's reality. It's hard to delineate the boundary between me and the world when I'm deeply filled with joy. But we're looking at great filled with something great. So one of the first things that we can say is that there's a correlation between the outer reality and the inner state. In other words, in order to be filled with something great, there has to be something great to fill us. And so human needs would be fulfilled, human needs filled fully, right? Fulfilled. To fulfill something is to fill the void or the need fully. So fulfilled human needs are great, greatly filled. So great is a continuum, and we look at needs, we look at preferences, we look at joy. Those are continuums of well-being. And the higher we climb sustainably in our human needs, in our human preferences, in our joy, the more great we feel, meaning the barometer of the human heart is employed to illuminate where we are on various continuums. I mean, there'd be no point in feelings if they didn't reveal anything. So our feelings tell us where we are in relationship with where we want to be. You know, if where we want to be is way over there and where we are is here, and we're stuck and we don't know how to get over there, and we're getting further and further away from where we want to be, well, it's called pain. And what pain does is it tells us that there's a very big and perhaps growing gap between where we want to be, where we need to be, where we long to be. And of course, you know, oxygen is not a preference. Love is not a preference. Sex may be a preference to some extent. It's obviously not a full preference. Without sex, we would not exist. Our existence began with sex. So obviously there needs to be some sex, at least leading to our birth, for us to exist, and, you know, for the species. But we don't have to have sex every day. So, you know, sex every day may be a preference. Sex at least once when we are conceived is certainly a necessity. And certainly inception of some kind, even if it's a sperm donor, but however you define that, that's necessary. So our feelings are there as a barometer to communicate to us consciously, to our conscious mind, how we're doing relative to where we want to be. And when we're not doing well, we feel bad, pain, anger, frustration, despair, loneliness, etc. And when we're doing well, when we're growing, when we're healing, when we're moving closer to what we long for, when we're filled, when we're fulfilled with our human needs to survive, be secure, etc., then we're going to feel great. So one of the paths to gratitude, which is the state of being in which greatness is present, the feeling of great, correlating with a reality of great. One of the continuums of gratitude and directions is to pursue a great life, which means pursuing, fulfilling, filling full our human needs, filling full our human desires and preferences, and moving towards joy. And in that direction, there is a certain degree of competence expressed. So there's a correlation between fulfilling our human needs and preferences and joys with competence. Why? Well, everyone in the history of humanity wants to, and has always wanted to, at some level, to feel sustainably better. It's the most basic human urge. We want to feel better, and we want to do so sustainably. We don't just want to get high on crack and then crash and ruin our lives. We want to get high and higher and higher and learn the art of living in a higher and higher state, a great state, a state of gratitude. So if we all want to feel good and we're not feeling good, then what we're talking about is competency. I don't know how to create the reality that would help me feel good. So I want to feel good. I don't know how to do it. I want to feel good. I want a great reality that leads to feeling good. And I don't know how to create a great reality that leads to me feeling good. And so I don't know how to feel good. And so I don't feel filled with greatness. I feel empty. I feel envious. I see other people feeling great, and I see other people having a great reality in which if I had that reality, at least I tell myself, I would feel great. I would feel great if, and I don't have, and I don't know how. Now we could say, well, of course you know how. You save up some money, you do this, you invest it, and it's like, yeah, but I don't know how to want to do that. You know, I know if I got up at 6 a.m. and did this and studied this, my life would be more great. But at 6 a.m., I don't want to get out of bed. So I want a great life, but I don't want to do the things that lead to a great life. And I don't know how to want to do the things, because we always do what we want. In every single moment, we do what we want within the parameters that we perceive. So if we don't get out of bed at 6 a.m. when the alarm goes off, we hear the alarm and we think, I don't want to do this. Now, some part of us says, well, that's the path to a great life. There's some other part says, yeah, but it's warm here and it's cold out there, and I don't want to get out of bed. And a part says, yeah, but we're not going to create a great life. And the part says, well, I don't care about that. Like, how do I get myself to care about that? Like, I don't know how to have that conversation with myself that leads to different choices, that leads to a great life. And so I don't know how to sustainably create gratitude. So grateful, filled with greatness, correlation between inner and outer reality. It's harder, for sure, to feel filled with greatness when one's fingernails are being pulled out in a concentration camp by sociopathic guards who have rifles, you know. It's hard to feel great when one's life could end at any moment, when one is lonely and isolated. So it's hard to feel great when we do not have a life filled with greatness. Part of a life filled with greatness is fulfilling our human needs. It's harder to fulfill our human needs when nobody explains what they are, and when our education and cult memes do not naturally lead to the fulfillment of human needs with any predictability. It's harder. But this is the journey towards greatness, which leads naturally to the feeling of gratitude. When we decide and learn and discover what a great life is for us, when we become competent enough through mistakes, trial, error, and experience and success, when we become competent enough to first create that great life, mentally, emotionally, physically, financially, socially, sexually, when we become competent enough to create a great life, and then having created it to sustain and build on that great life rather than a peak and a crash, when we become competent enough to create a great life, gratitude is a natural and spontaneous byproduct. It is a thermometer. As we learn to heat the water, as we learn to move the heated water to the thermometer, as we pour the hot water on the thermometer automatically rises. The heart, a thermometer. The higher the reality, the more hot water is pouring on our human heart. The more hot water pours on our human heart, the more it rises greatly into gratitude. Hi, I'm Dane Rose. All knowledge begins with a paradigm, and out of that paradigm comes an idea, an awareness that we adopt, reject, or synthesize into something better. It doesn't become wisdom, it doesn't become useful until we take action, until we integrate it into not only our thoughts, but our feelings, our body, our words, and our way of being. For that to occur, we have to move from the passive media paradigm into more active engagement. In the link below, in the More Information section, is an invitation to join a very small, deliberately filtered, high-quality discussion with a group of people who share a common language and want to work with these ideas, with me and with one another, with the sole goal of creating 10 times more sustainable well-being for ourselves and those around us per unit of energy invested. Thank you for watching.